Okay, just to give you a little a background of in terms of the Philippine United States relationship when you talk about defense and military, because this is the context of our discussion at the moment. If you really look at the Philippines is the longest outpost, military outpost and defense outpost of the United States in the Asia Pacific region. That's precisely because our history with the United States, you can trace it back during the colonization time. We were a colony of the United States for the longest time. And I think we just got our independence. They give us, not, it's really crazy because I don't even really recognize that as independence, because until this very day, I feel that my country is still a colony of the United States, but we got it around July of 1946. So if you really look at that, if you see the pillars of what you call defense and security relationship and alliance between the United States and the Philippines, it boils down to three things, three agreements. One is the Mutual Defense Treaty of 1951, but it was ratified in 1952. And then you have the Visiting Forces Agreement. Well, the MDT basically is a document that says that, the Philippines is a military ally of the United States, and it's a non-NATO ally in the Asia Pacific region. But the relationship is very close when you talk about military. And then the second very important agreement is the Visiting Forces Agreement between the Philippines and the United States, which basically this agreement allows the rotational and deployment of American troops on Philippine soil. And also it allows and it gives some kind of credence to what you call joint military exercises between the Philippines and the United States. And usually it happens in the Philippines, no, and it's not, it becoming more aggressive, and it becomes huge in terms of number. And even they usually the last April military exercises between these two countries has it deployed a huge number of soldiers from both sides, but more numbers on the side of the Americans. And also the critical point is during the time the Americans deployed in the Philippines the mid-range missile launcher, which is until now it's in the Philippines in the northern part. So that's this kind of military activities and also joint patrols in the South China Sea, which is disputed between China and the Philippines and other claimant states, is getting intensified. And the agreement that makes it possible is what you call the Visiting Forces Agreement. The other one, which is very contentious at this time, and this makes actually China anxious, and even in a way Russia to a greater extent, because of the mid-range deployment missile launcher that was deployed in the Philippines and it's still there, is the what you call Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement. It's called EDCA. EDCA provides but it's like provide the leeway for the Americans to actually create or install what you call military bases, American military bases in Philippine military bases, or they call it site, but it's actually bases. But they kind of circumvented that because constitutionally should not be allowed. And circumvented that in a sense that these are non-permanent. And the thing about the EDCA is before it's only 5, okay, because it was signed it was signed in 2014. And now there's additional 4. And many of these EDCA bases are facing Taiwan or near Taiwan. And we know that Taiwan is a volatile area in the Asia Pacific region. And many also are facing or near the South China Sea, which is disputed. And you have China again in there, and in Taiwan Strait you have vis-a-vis China. So this additional EDCA bases, military bases of the Americans, is critical in a sense that it's not just putting an installation, but even then the most important here is prepositioning of military assets on Philippine soil. So this is now the development in the Philippines when you talk about Philippine United States relationship in defense, security, and military. But recently, there is an additional agreement that was signed between the Philippines and the United States because of the 2+2 ministerial dialogue. No, this started in 2012, and I think usually it happens in the United States, but first time that it happened in Manila. And they signed an agreement on intelligence exchange of information. And another outcome of this ministerial dialogue between the two countries is the 500 million US dollars kind of military financing that the United States saying that it would extend to the Philippines. So if you really look at my country at the moment, you can see that in many ways it's being militarized by the United States. And the question is why it is doing it. And it's really something that Filipinos gets anxious about, because if you can see, I mean, there is really like a geopolitical rivalry between the United States and China. And it seems like we Filipinos or the Philippines is becoming like the proxy or the pawn of the United States against China in this sense. And you can see it because of the increasing militarization of the country by the United States. There's so many agreements that is now all about defense and military, and that is now being pushed through by the United States. And of course, the Philippine government under President Marcos Jr. is very much willing. You know, they just signed, they just agree with everything. And another even agreement that has something to do with military and defense is what you call RAA, which is the reciprocal. We call it the reciprocal access agreement between Japan and the Philippines. But if you really look at it, it's actually orchestrated by the United States. So if this agreement is already approved and signed, no? So if you really look at it, there's such a thing as trilateral relationship between Japan, the Philippines, and the United States. And these are all military, and these are all defense agreements. So that is the picture of the Philippines at the moment. And this is not good the way I see it, precisely because the Asia Pacific region, the Indo-Pacific region, and even the ASEAN region is now facing a lot of tension, geopolitically speaking, because of the external interference of the United States in the region. And all of this is, all about military and defense. So the Philippines is in the middle. I think the Philippines is now like the battleground of all of this geopolitical tension in Southeast Asia, and that is actually between China and the United States. So that's the picture that I can tell you about my country's situation, geopolitically speaking, because my country is very, very strategic in the Asia Pacific region when you talk about military and defense. It's actually part of what you call the first island chain, and we can discuss that later. Yeah.